Oh yeah, that's a big bear poop. Seems like no matter how hard I work at baiting bears in the bush, I always end up with a couple at the house. They come in for the fruit at this time of year. So I'm going to show you some of the permaculture fruit crops that you can have for fruit independence, or a little bit of food security, or just for lots of yard snacks. Number one are apple trees. So this is actually a crabapple variety. And not everybody likes them, but I got super fond of these. I used to stuff my pockets with them on the way to school when I was a kid. This tree's maybe almost 30 years old, and it's been really productive all that time. And usually if I don't pick the apples, or somebody else doesn't pick the apples, inevitably a bear comes in here and leaves big applesauce poops on the driveway for us to find, and you wouldn't even know it had been here in the night. So today I'm going to harvest a whole bunch of these apples. I'm going to make apple juice. I might do a quick little bit of footage about the process for getting apple juice out of these. I've also done dried apples with them, applesauce and apple pies and things like that. But apple trees are super productive, and there are some really amazing breeding programs that have been going on with different cold hardy varieties. So my plan over the next couple of years is to start to introduce some of those varieties from the University of Saskatchewan's breeding program and get some cold hardy apple trees that are producing bigger apples, because we haven't had a lot of success with that here yet, but tons of crab apples. Now if you had a closer look at that bear poop, you would know that it wasn't here for the apples yet, because that was not a big applesauce poop. It's here for chokecherries, and I think chokecherries are probably one of the most overlooked perennial fruits. I don't really know anybody who purposefully goes out of their way to plant them in their yards. So these are all wild ones that are just volunteered around the property, but when they fruit in huge abundance. So these trees are practically falling over under the weight of their chokecherries. And that's what the bear's been eating. They probably just get in there and just rake tons of these chokecherries through their teeth, and consume huge quantities of them. They're also very attractive. I've been watching cedar waxwings, American robins, blue jays have all been in the chokecherry bushes. Chipmunks, I've got a chipmunk problem around here. They're into chokecherries. Very, very important wild food crop, and you can just kind of plant them around on your property and they're going to grow like crazy. They just keep coming up from the roots, so they form like dense thickets, and they're a very productive fruit. I've done chokecherry wine, chokecherry jelly. Those are probably the two main things that I would use chokecherries for. But if you've watched some of the older videos I've done with the Wooded Beardsman, we ground the chokecherries into a paste and made fruit leather, and that is probably the tastiest way to eat them. You just have to make sure that you grind those pits, those stony pits, that you're using some kind of a grinder that grinds those down into a paste, so you don't cut your gums or other parts of your digestive system on them. They're not much to look at right now, but these red currant bushes are also very productive, especially if you get in and do your yearly pruning. And a lot of these trees are going to, trees and shrubs I should say, are going to thrive on a good pruning schedule and weeding around the base of them. So most of these have been planted by my parents over the years. Some of the patches here are like really old, and I've been in trying to make sure that I get on them with some pruning to boost productivity. And in here these guys were pretty productive. So we have two varieties of currants, and they're very cold hardy. You can grow them in northern climates, and they're pretty tasty, and there are just so many varieties of them. So we have these red currant bushes and also a row of black currants. These ones tend to be a little more upright, whereas the black currant variety that we have, it tends to be low creeping branches, and they just keep suckering and then sending up new shoots, so they're a little bit harder to maintain I'm going to look into maybe a way to trellis them up a little bit to keep them off the ground, so that they don't just keep putting their energy into sending up new shoots, but that they send up more fruits. I actually prefer wild strawberries, and there are quite a few patches of them here in fields and lawns, and so I prefer to harvest those. But there are some domestic strawberries here. They've just been overtaken by the weeds a little bit. Hi. We don't have as many bear chubbles now that we have a Ziggy. But all these different fruits are going to fruit at different times of the year, so it's nice to plan out a mix of crops that gives you kind of a sustained harvest through the summer. Oh, you're so excited. You want to show everybody your belly? Say, there's my belly! So the nice thing about strawberries, Ziggy, let's tell them about the nice thing about strawberries. She hates when I talk to myself on camera. She doesn't understand what's wrong with me. Yeah, I think it makes you a little bit nervous. The nice thing about strawberries is that they are the earliest fruiting crop, I think, that grows around here. So we can get strawberries in June, and then usually we're followed by my favorite crop, which I'm going to show you next, which are the raspberries. And the raspberries are now finished, but the choke cherries are ready, and apples, you can pick them all the way into October sometimes, depending on weather conditions. Oh yeah, you know what else is ready? Let's go look over here. Raspberries a second from now. It's really warming up fast today. So grapes are also a grape crop. That you can grow vertically, so you can take advantage of trellising systems, or let them grow on some of your buildings, which is not always ideal but sometimes convenient. And they also produce in heavy abundance. You just really have to fight the birds for them. Should stay in the sun, I guess. Come on over here with me. So these grapes are Concord grapes. They're a good eating variety. They're a good jelly variety. They're kind of a classic old variety for that. But you can get all kinds of different varieties which are more suited for making wine, if that's one of your goals with your fruit crops. This is all from one grape plant. This whole big spreading vine. You can see there's also a hops vine growing in here. They're probably almost ready to harvest. And you don't see a lot of grapes from the outside, but if you have a peek in behind, there are a bunch of clusters of grapes hiding behind the leaves. And they're pretty much ready to eat. Some of them are turning into raisins. And there's definitely been a chipmunk in here. But they're very, very productive. Very productive plants. Okay, these are my favorite here. This little shady patch that the sun hasn't touched yet this morning is raspberries. So there are 4 rows of raspberries here, over 100 feet long. My freezer has a huge stack with bags and bags and bags of frozen raspberries. The season ended about 2 weeks ago for this variety, which I believe are mostly brandy wines. But my daughter planted a golden raspberry variety here, which is still producing, so it's like a fall variety. And I'm going to start to divide this plant and fill in some of the row spaces, and that's going to really extend out the raspberry harvest season, which it is one of my favorite fruits. And Tara makes this like amazing raspberry square dessert with them, which is my favorite as well. So raspberries, again, this is one whole side of the garden, so a lot of mulch goes in here, and I do a lot of pruning. So pretty soon I'll be getting into all my fall pruning routine and try and maintain those. But those are probably my 5 favorite crops right now. I know there's probably a few you expected to hear on my list, and I will be experimenting with things like haskaps, which I've planted here, and my mom has planted here, and my sister's planted here, and they just haven't really taken yet in the spots where we've tried planting them. There's gooseberries we used to have here. I don't know whatever happened to them, but I'm planning to reintroduce a few gooseberries. Maybe a variety of grapes other than the Concords, which I'm still munching out. And what else am I growing? Pears. If I can get some zone hardy pears. I have a tree that's been growing but not ever producing. So anyway, getting a lot of volume off of those 5 things. And what I'm going to do today is to harvest apples and make some apple juice. So I'm going to can it, put it in my cold storage, and hopefully I can make a bunch of apple juice and have it all winter. Might even make some hard apple cider. Okay, that's a 4-gallon pot of cut up crab apples. It's probably almost 30 pounds of apples there, and it doesn't even look like it put a dent in the tree. So there must be hundreds of pounds of apples on this tree. Okay, so next step, I'm going to bring some water to a boil. I'm going to pour boiling water on the apples, enough just to cover them, and then I leave them to sit for 24 hours, and that's where we'll check back in. Okay, 24 hours later, I guess we should do a little taste test and see about bottling this stuff up. Taste test, taste test. Oh, it's very, very pink. Oh yeah, it's a little bit, a little acidic. It's not overly sweet, but it's got like a really nice, mild apple juice flavor. I like that. Okay, what we're gonna need to do is strain it. Okay, this is a real kitchen. This isn't a TV set, so it's a little bit messy. Look at that nice color. So one way that you can tell if you've done a good juice extraction, apparently, is to taste an apple and see if the flavor has come out of the apples. They've definitely lost a lot of their flavor. So we had a 16-quart pot here, and see how much juice we get. Almost a whole roasting pan full. And I'm not going to be super fussy about extracting every drop of juice out of this. And later, I don't have a pig, but I have a bear stand. So all this leftover apples, maybe throw some to the chickens and see if they like it. And some of it will go to baked bears. Get that apple out of there. Okay. So I'm going to pour this now through a cloth. I'm going to dump this pot, pour this back in here, but strain it a little bit better. And then I'm going to sterilize some jars and bring this to a boil. Once it's at boiling and I've got sterilized jars, I'm going to pour it into the jars, put the lids on, and then either put them in my fridge and watch my kids drink it all up pretty quick, or if I want to store it for longer, I will hot water bath them for long-term storage. Okay, That's hot. Those are sterilized. Jars are sterilized in the oven. And this is just about to boil. We're almost there. How do I know my jars are sterilized? I like to put a little bit of water in the bottom of each one, and then when it comes to a boil, oops, just spilled my jar here. When it comes to a boil, then I know that it's sterilized. So I'll just pick those out one at a time, dump that excess water, ladle in some juice until it's full. I have to also sterilize my ladle. Okay, I think it is go time here. And I might do something a little bit rash, just to speed up the process, which is to free pour from my big pot. It's going to take me forever to do the ladling, but I think there's a low enough volume in here. And obviously you have to be really careful if you do this because you're dealing with burning liquids. Look at the color on that. Zoop! Alright, so I'm right close to the top there, and just need a sterilized lid and a sterilized ring. Whoa, that is an odd size of lid. It's neither small nor a wide mouth lid. That's something weird there. I don't know what's going on. Now I'm going to be a short one. Whew, hot. And I can just set that aside until the lid pops. Or if I want to be extra certain about it, put it in a hot water bath and hot water can it. So I'm just gonna keep on going here with my jars until all 5 liters is done. I think it's the skins that are contributing all that color. Okay. Lid, ring, seal it up, set it to cool.